Here we are back, FutureLab podcast, and really cool episode one that's super, super special for me, and that I already feel emotional getting into this, and that'll reveal itself as we go. But
we haven't even started yet.
I know.
It's going to be good, guys.
We'll say why soon, but just before we do, Dan, how are you going, mate?
I'm doing well. I'm really enjoying how this whole podcast is evolving.
The people we're getting to speak to.
People, like next to none, and the conversations that we're having, what I'm really enjoying, and this is coming back to your original idea, we're really starting to knit this idea of science and soul together, this idea of humanizing the science about longevity, but really relating it back to, well, what does that mean for you as a human? You know, how does that translate to your behaviors, your mindset, your outlook? It's starting to come together like that. I'm really enjoying to see how that evolves.
It's unearthing itself and revealing itself to us through the
we're
people,
finding
isn't
our
it?
feet.
We're finding these angels around the world that are amazing.
I think we're learning something every episode ourselves, which hopefully means that all the listeners are learning so much as well, and very real. You know, the stories are real, the ups, the downs, everything we go through.
And I've got to say, before we do move on, what I do enjoy, and the thing that I was hoping that we were going to do, there are certainly a lot of shows out there about longevity and well-being and there's a lot of science in those things. You're a scientist yourself, but look, we're all very much just people wanting to learn. We're not claiming to be outright experts in all aspects of these areas, just
Sometimes
open to
I
learning. Denise is a geneticist, she can have that. But
Dr. Denise Vaness, the geneticist,
Yeah.
you know, who knows more about things than, you know.
Just genetics, though. That's about it.
But I love the fact that we're doing this, and several times there's been tears, and because the people that we're talking
First
to.
episode.
I want to
Both
get
of you
into
were in
who
tears.
we got here.
Yes.
Okay. So pretty special, and really, really cool for multiple reasons, which we'll organically jump into. But our guest today is someone who's very special to me, who I've got the privilege of working with at the moment, and have building an amazing relationship with. I'll let him say that or not, but also who's moving me and inspiring me, you know, every single day, the way he's approaching big subjects with big organizations, big people, and creating big movement, from science to soul, from facts to family, from, you know, the hard-edged yang stuff to the yin stuff, which is really, really beautiful, and he's incredible at it. So the camera probably hasn't shone on him just yet, but it's probably people would know because they've actually seen it in the title. Well, they've seen it in the title, right? But it's my great mate Craig McRae, Craig McRae, coach.
Hey, Trevor, how are you?
Yeah, good mate.
Thanks for
first
having
question,
me.
before I introduce you a little bit more, how are you, mate?
I'm going well.
You going
That's a
well?
big build-up.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure on that build-up.
Yeah, but you're in the midst of it's a crazy time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, we could have spoken 4 or 5 weeks ago when there was in your professional world, there's a real roll on of breaking through some really, really cool things. And 4 or 5 weeks later, it's like a real transitional stage of working through some stuff. So how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm going well.
You good?
Yeah, no, life's good. I've got a lot to be grateful for, and I got a beautiful 9-month-old that's crawling fast, and just picked my little girl up from school. So all the real things in the world are all still going on really well. As most people in life, you ebb and flow of what work gives you, fun, enjoyment, excitement, and other challenges. Just here being present, mate.
That's it. That's good, mate. So for those who haven't introduced you properly yet, but currently head coach of Collingwood Football Club.
Yes.
So for people outside of Australia.
For those that have...
Collingwood is the most
over
amazing team in Australia, the best football team, just letting you know,
So
just in case you
Denise is
don't know much about
fan.
AFL.
I do have been
For the
a fan.
visual people.
There's
There's
visual people, those that can see it on screen.
Yeah.
A Collingwood scarf.
Yes.
Over
Member 2000.
That was my dad's. It was one of
He was a
my
member
dad's scarves.
2013.
We've got a lot of scarves at
We
home.
were just talking about your dad before too.
Yes, yeah.
But Collingwood Footy Club, for those that don't know, it's the biggest sporting club in the biggest sporting code in our country. So in Australia, it's a very big deal. You don't have to say that, but it's a very big deal. And traditionally, the coaches in Collingwood Football Club have been juggernauts of humans. They've often been massive high achievers and
And then there's me.
like bold, brash personalities.
What are you
Don't worry,
like?
I'll get to it. It doesn't sound like a slight. I'm putting a slight on it. But what's fascinating about Craig is that, born Adelaide.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that a little bit. But
God,
came
my
through.
dad would be probably a bit sad. We were so like the traditional VFL.
Yes.
The
Santa
old
fell
school.
I
over
can
there.
feel the resentment already.
You're like,
State of
"Right."
origin.
I like you. Oh, did I?
But played with the Brisbane Lions under the great Lee Matthews as a coach, who was also a premiership drought-breaking coach with Collingwood.
Amazing coach.
And but you guys won a three-peat, 3 premierships in a row, which hadn't been done for a long, long time before that. And that was quite a brutal empire of like powerful men playing that game at that stage. So it's quite fascinating in itself. And then school teacher. After that, secondary school teacher, and then coaching sort of starts coming in, and you start getting development roles and other coaching roles and everything else. And then we first really connected, even though our sporting eras are similar from southeast Queensland. We first connected when we were both at Collingwood, and you were development coach, head of development at Collingwood, and I was helping with culture and relationships with Bucks and players and all that sort of stuff as well. And we'd have interesting chats in the hallways and everything else. And then you went off and went to other multiple big clubs, Richmond, Hawthorn, had big experiences with the big coaches there, and then finally walk in and get the role as the Collingwood coach, which was a disembarkment for Collingwood from previous people that they would bring in, but it was absolutely perfect. So I just wanted to set the backdrop of all that. And also with FutureLab, the podcast, what we're about is getting the most out of life, and what I'm so excited about is I've watched you in a very short period get the most out of an organisation and a group of people that had so much potential, and there was elements that weren't tapped into, and you've brought something very simple to it, a lot of simple things that tapped into that potential. As you know now, you're trying to grow that potential to the next level, and that's got its challenges attached to it. But it's absolute honour and privilege, not just having you here as a mate, but also to have you here to share a bit of your wisdom and your heart and the absolute humility that is your superpower.
Oh, very kind. It's again, there's a lot to live up to. I feel like just you talking out loud makes me feel how old I am, how much I've done. Nearly 51 in a couple of months. But life's been a fascinating journey. Just going back to the Adelaide stuff and the humble beginnings of mum and dad and working class, and we never went without much, but we sort of seemed that we had a lot. Without having too much, but pretty humble, and I'm really proud of that too. I feel like the growth and the journey of resilience needed to be sitting here now in this podcast and then living the life that we have.
Do you wear
I
this?
think Collingwood comes from a humble. My dad he worked extremely hard at a business, but working class, working class.
That's the original
people.
DNA of Collingwood. It was the slums. It was the hard work.
So how much do you attribute of that background to where you are now?
Oh, nearly most.
What aspects of that?
Resilience.
Right.
Striving to improve, be better, fall over, get up, keep going forward, go sideways a bit, but go forward, learn, grow.
It created a hunger, I suppose, as well, did it? Was it?
I don't know where the thirst for wanting to improve comes from, to be honest. It's just something that's maybe in there. Really, like my dad's...
Maybe epigenetic, inherited.
Okay.
If you say so, geneticist.
By the way.
I just was foreign too. I just
for it,
throw this out. But, maybe you've inherited something that, you don't even know is there. You inherit certain things that sit on top of your DNA that affect behaviour.
Well, I'm certain environmental stuff around my dad working 6 days a week, long hours, gets home late, is in me somewhere. I know when things get tough, Dad, just work harder, you'll get there. Those mentality or environmental stuff.
That sticks its head up every now and then, doesn't it?
Oh,
The
okay.
default
It
setting.
still
Just
comes
work
in,
harder.
there's definitely, environmental stuff that I'm really proud of that my mum and dad gave me great opportunities through.
And by the way, I don't hold it against you being from Adelaide, even though I was a bit shocked being a traditional VFL.
Yes.
I moved to Adelaide to do my PhD and I loved it. It's a beautiful place. So, yes.
Yeah, mum still lives there. But back to the working class stuff and of Collingwood, I was so aware of that, having worked there for 5 years, and then watching this Collingwood Football Club, the big, boldest, brashest organisation in Australia, somewhat perceived that way. But then if you step in and you're in there, you go, hang on a minute, this is actually historically working class. And you go right to the grassroots. You go to Victoria Park. You listen to the history and the fans itself. It's I was really determined to bring the fans, or give the club back to its fans and to its people. Particularly when I took over, it was COVID time or just after, and I think we all lived the disconnect of COVID, family, and couldn't connect with our own closest ones, let alone have a sporting organisation which we paid money for to support. Many of our fans.
So they paid their memberships.
There's 30, 40, 50,000 members who paid money. They couldn't even go to a game.
For some, it's the lifeblood. I mean, I know for my dad, who did work extremely hard, probably at times 7 days a week, football was, I think, the one outlet he had. And I think I said that to you just before we jumped on. Some of the best memories I have, without a doubt, are, being in the football with my dad. It lit him up for sure. Someone who worked extremely hard, and for people to lose that, because it's a cult. I would actually say Collingwood in our household was like a religion. Yeah. It's intense. I guess people sort of probably don't realise in
That's
Australia.
That's not an understatement. No, in a lot of households in Australia.
That would be real. And across the world, you follow Manchester United, you're picturing all the same attachments to those
100%, yeah.
So when that's taken away, in theory, like, you can't have your outlet of 6-7 days a week going to the footy, and that's my outlet with my family, my connection piece. There's something missing in all of us. So I was determined to give that back, and we chipped away culturally at what that looked like, and bring the fans along for the ride was a cultural piece of ours, and that requires action.
Do you think that there was a stage during the club's history where it did lose its way and its roots, and you went in consciously with that in mind when you took on the role?
Yeah, potentially. Not too. A couple of years prior, we're having a lot of inner turmoil and change, and I was part of change, but mainly there's a lot of change happening around me, and a lot of stuff that the club wasn't proud of in the past that we're looking to make amends for or improve ourselves. So. Yeah, I think there was a little bit of lost its own soul a bit.
And an inner readiness to invite bringing that back in, right? To say, all right, it's time. If someone's going to be the catalyst, we're ready to go. Let's bring our soul back.
Yeah, let's pick this
Did the club recognise that, you, at least in part, that's also something that you can bring to the club?
Obviously, there was from others' eyes. Now, I knew what in terms of what I was prepared to do and the plan I had in place. It's up to others to decide whether that's worthy of.
What was the sentence you were going to say? This little guy. What were you
this little guy. This from Christie's Beach, Sullivan's Beach in Adelaide, coaching Collingwood. I honestly, when I got the job, I drove past the place and I'm going to my wife, "Can you believe that I'm the coach at that place?"
How beautiful!
It just doesn't happen. If you're ever travelling down south of Adelaide and know where I grew up, but there's not many Collingwood coaches come from that area.
No, that's right. None, I would say.
But it makes me really proud of, and I'll never forget where I come from, because I'm not here without those things, and I still attach that today. I guess.
Isn't that the ultimate superpower, that the appreciation of where you did come from takes away the getting lost in the mystique of being at Collingwood? It's like, no, I'm here to change this and to make a difference and to bring the best out.
Yeah, I often, when I first got the job, there's many people from anyone, but, how are you going to handle that big job? I said, it's just a job. It's just You're adding the big to it. That's your meaning. That's not mine. It's just a job. Yeah. And then there's the fulfillment in trying to rally people together, connect the club, connect people, connect fans, and then perform and be fun to watch and all these other layers. But no, I don't get caught up in adding meaning to things a lot.
Lost in the meaning.
No, it's a beautiful day outside. But it's a bit cloudy. They're the meaning that we add to things.
Yes.
I don't sort of add that meaning. I go, it's a beautiful day. Look, it is. Yeah, a little bit here or there. You add those meanings, but it's similar to the job itself. It's got four walls and we play the same game. It's the other meaning that I stay away from.
We will go back to Brisbane times and other things in early football and stuff as well. But what was the first meeting like when you stood in front of the players for the first time at the Pies, and you knew sitting inside of this? I often see inside of you as like this well, like this deep sea of feeling, and you've got a big spirit, so. You've got this big thing sitting inside of you that's simple, that you want to bring through, but you've got to start with the first words that come out of your mouth, and you've actually got to start saying, hey guys, we might have actually valued this and we're not going to anymore. We're going to start valuing that.
Yeah.
What were the key things that you touched on straight away, and what was that like? Could you feel yourself grabbing one at a time? Did they, was it? Did I get anyone in this first meeting? Like, how did you go with that first?
I'll never forget it. It was a moment where like you're literally presenting to the board for gratification. You are the guy on one side of the building, and then I'm sitting in the office waiting for approval. Yep, they're all happy with you. You got the job. Here's the keys.
Wow.
It was like a crazy moment. After this is about a 3-month process, and that's the last sort of tick of approval from the board, and I'm sitting in a dentist chair type waiting, or dentist room, and here I am. There's the keys, and I walk out of that, and they're going, it's yours. And you're speaking to the players in a half an hour, and the media in an hour. I'm going, right, here we go. We're straight into it, aren't we? Right. But I'll never forget the time that the playing group stood in front of me, or sat in front of me in this lecture theatre, and I'm about being a winner. I like winning, but I like winning at all levels, not winning at all costs, which has been something that I know Trevor and I talk about a lot. But this winners only mentality is you have certain behaviours that winners do. So here's how it played out. The players come in, 40 of them, and the season's over for them at that stage. So I'm staring at them for the future now, not the past. And I was looking at this motley crew of guys. Some had their shirts
somewhat
off, depressed and uncertain of what the future lies. Is this coach going to like me? All those things. I can imagine what they're thinking. Where do they sit with it all? But I had a couple of guys with their shirts off. Had guys in a lecture theatre with their feet crossed on the chairs, leaning back really casually, and all sitting all over the place. There's a 100-seat lecture theatre and 40 guys, so they're spaced everywhere. No representation or resemblance of any team. And
what you've inherited.
Yeah, this is my new
Do you reckon there was an element of them sizing you up by just pushing the boundaries a little bit?
No, I think there's a level of they didn't really know what they didn't need to know, or didn't know what
Just where they were.
Yeah,
right?
it's where they were in that place and time. So I really quickly started to put some things in place. I said, get your feet off chairs. When you come to a meeting, you come ready to be a participant in the meeting. You're not sitting there, because the lecture theatre is to be lectured. So that was the last ever meeting we did in that room. It was the first, but it will be the last. Get your feet off the chairs, because you're going to be a participant. Also, can you please make sure next meeting you come to, wear a shirt, because we have women in the workplace, and we're going to respect our environment. Just planting seeds of what winners do.
Also,
But
you're in a meeting and you're the coach. And
Correct.
But didn't you give the line about the winners before that?
Yeah, I'm talking about, we're going to be winners.
We're going to be winners.
And we're going to be winners only here. And
these are examples.
And that's an example of being a winner. And that then flowed into nearly every meeting we had.
But how readily was that accepted and taken on? When you said that, did they do it straight away, or was there some
instant.
resistance?
Get your feet off the chair.
Right.
So they knew, but they also felt that they knew you meant business, but they didn't demonstrate a level of resistance to it straight away. They just
No doubt they want to be winners too.
Yeah,
they probably bought in.
Well, there's a new level of this is the way things are going to be done around
Yeah.
here. That might have been how it was in the past, but we're not going to be that team.
Yeah.
Then I showed a clip of Collingwood in that time. Not actually, I went the other way. I showed another team not celebrating the little things that we would value futuristically. So here's an example of what we're going to do to connect ourselves. And there was this situation where one player did this amazing act, and then 4 or 5 players didn't really care about it. And I showed one example of Collingwood doing it. I said, this is the version of us that we're going to celebrate, because that's what winners do. And then there's just drip feeding things. So it wasn't an overwhelming meeting, but I'll never forget about the one, the first impression you get, or that first experience to connect, setting little, seeds,
simple things,
and the big words were, we're going to get our soil right before we start to plant seeds. So in the background, that was the meeting, and in the background, then I started to get to work to find out what the soil is. Do I need
what weeds are in there?
What weeds do we need to take out? What part of the soil looks?
What weeds did you find?
Yeah, without specifics, what did you find?
Well, what I did is I spent 40 minutes pretty much with every staff member and every player. So it was about 80 odd people over a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I was just, let's go, we're getting busy. And then questions asked, what's working, what's not working. simple questions and let them speak. And then I asked them to describe one word to describe the environment. And I collated all these words. And then when we got everyone back, because they know when I leave, we got everyone back, I started the very first meeting with, just wanted to let you know this is us right now. And I did a word.
You had the word puzzle up in
Word
front of
puzzle.
you.
And it was in the shape of a magpie.
Oh, okay.
And the words that were resonated a couple of times become bigger and bolder. So it was like disconnected or, poor standards or whatever words they come up with. And it was it was there, a visual. I said, now that was who we were and this is who we're going to
So
be.
with that word cloud or whatever you want to call it, did it show more negative than positive in the
absolutely.
fall? So it was
absolutely.
like overwhelmingly.
Oh, it was obvious. And it wasn't about
So it
judgment.
spoke to results then, didn't it? Because
Yeah.
the results were a complete reflection of that word cloud, so to speak.
This is the environment that I'm walking into a bit again about the soil.
Yeah.
Before we start to fertilise or grow or harvest, we need to make sure, okay, this is what we've got. Now we're going to be for what
we're
it
going
is.
to turn the soil.
Well, that's
You know.
that's it. And now this is where we're going. So there's an element of like you got to understand what you're inheriting before you can make change. Yeah.
What was that like as you put that up on the board and the because it's quite confronting to go, what was that next part of the process like as you worked through the willingness to be vulnerable and the willingness to confront this and to change it amongst the individuals that need to? Were there some that were harder that you perhaps had to move on or self-selected themselves to move on? Were there others that were leaders? Were there people that come to you early days after the first meeting and said, "Fly, it's really good to have you here. I loved what you said." Like, what was the combination of things that occurred next?
Yeah, there's lots.
As the shift.
There's lots. I remember resistance.
Yep.
We've done that before.
Players, coaches.
Players and coaches.
Yep.
Some coaches left.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
They left really early, like before we even started the journey. So I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. We're going
But
forward.
what's behind that though? I mean,
Opportunity mainly.
right.
Yeah, mainly opportunity and uncertainty too. Like maybe they didn't
Someone
know where
new,
they
fresh is
sit.
coming in.
Yeah. But there was resistance. We've tried that before. That didn't work, that sort of language.
That's a common phrase in organisations
Yeah.
where someone sort of brings new ideas.
What was your
in.
immediate reaction when you got that?
I hate the word or the language. This is the way we've always done it. I hate that. I hate it.
So how's that work out for you?
We're proudly
a
in 7-8.
massive advocate for change and growth. I love growth mindset. I want to be better today and tomorrow than I was yesterday. So that and opportunities through all that. So I want everything to almost change consistently. But the resistance to change was like, okay, well, we're going to do it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you on the journey.
But
of
so
what
in a
looks
world full of blame and justifications and resistance and excuses, that's standard in the world. If we're not going well, they're all our cousins. We're in all those things. In that world, you being a change agent and you being really passionate about it, because it's immovable in you. We're going to change, boys. We're going to this place. That also makes you a bit of a target. Like it actually puts you have to really stand there fully.
Yeah.
Like there was this reflection of you being a small guy. But I keep saying it, your spirit, your essence is huge because you're like, we're doing that. So
I'm so confident in the ability to get people on the same page. I don't think it's that hard to connect people. I really don't. There's certain levels to that. There's respect. There's the way you treat people. Don't treat everybody the same. Value.
But where does that come from though? Because not everyone thinks like that. Certainly not everyone's confident about doing that. To be able to connect people is a skill and a belief.
Yeah, well, I think you get confidence from belief through action, like through doing it regularly. So I don't believe in confidence. I believe in confident actions and
confidence as a result.
a result. Yeah, that's an outcome.
Taking
Sort of
action,
reinforcement.
seeing those
So
results.
having done it regularly, bringing people together and driving culture, I think that definitely was a skill set that I was confident in. Just being consistent with that too. Little subtle things like just get the job and then we employ a couple of people and it gets put out on the communication chain, the app. And I'm interviewing these players, 40 minutes, and I said, "Oh, by the way, did you get the message that we've got 2 new staff starting, new coaches? That's exciting." "Oh yeah, got it." I said, "By the way, have you contacted them just to say welcome to the club?" "Oh no, I haven't, because I was walking my dog." Some other, the dog ate my homework type excuse. And I'm just sitting there going, "Okay, we got a bit of work to do."
Yes.
So
So that's not natural for them at that stage, which would be natural in
No.
a high-performing culture, highly connected culture.
When you value everyone, so there's this layers of starting to build that. We started a cultural meeting at the finish every week, and we bring our culture together, which is bring the fans along for the ride, connect with our past, start add these layers to why we're in the position we're in, and then drip feed a lot of this behaviour, consistently rewarded. I'm a pat the dog, keep patting the dog type, feed the dog, and they'll be there. Like reward the behaviour, keep rewarding the behaviour. So I still don't do it. So I still won't walk past anything in our environment that has made us better without acknowledging it, whether it's one-on-one or through a text or through a group opportunity. I can't thank you enough, Dan, for the way you did this in our environment. Unbelievable. Or subtle things like I get a list of emails of who's away for the day. I'll text them and I hope you're feeling okay, mate. We missed you today. Subtle little connection pieces.
And over time, how have you seen that transform the culture in the club?
Oh, significantly.
That alone.
Just subtle connection pieces, little things. It's just a dripping tap, and all of a sudden there's a big puddle. And but it's consistency of little things.
Which is a connected puddle, right? Because everyone's they're now naturally thinking of each other. Oh, where's so-and-so? What's going on? I'll reach out.
Yep.
Like slowly but surely there's a connected piece. There's an organism rather than a bunch of individuals.
And there's a community in the support. In our last podcast, we talked a little bit about relationships.
With Lauren Burns, Olympic gold medalist Taekwondo, and now studied
and
PhD in this area.
in relationships and how that helps. And basically what you're doing is building those relationships, which people have got that support network and they show that that can help with, managing stress, improving performance.
I constantly say to our group, because we still do those end of week cultural sessions, and they've just grown to incredible. There's 80 people in there now, and we tell somebody next to you what someone else has done really well for our environment this week, and they're telling you, and then it's players and staff just bouncing off each other, rewarding behaviour, giving affirmation to what we're doing. But I constantly say that. I'm not much of a gardener, but I like to get out in the garden.
You did the soil analogy. That's
there you go. And so, but often in the garden you get these big rocks. If you pick them up, underneath the rock there's a lot going on. Worms. And, you ever done that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, so I pick up and go, that's a bit more than I thought on surface level. So I feel like in most people's lives, especially in a big organisation, you just got to pick up a few rocks every now and again and just ask the right questions, because there is a lot going on. And in my position, I find out everything. Everyone comes to me, I know everything that's going on, that's good or bad or indifferent. So I just make others aware that, hey guys, there's a bit going on underneath your rock today or someone's rock. I don't want to give you more information.
Yeah.
They're not here today, but there's a bit going on. So can we just have an awareness of that? And then there might be, as we've created, a text message, just thinking you're okay, I hope you're okay today. And if they want to share and open up, then there's another level of care and support that we're trying to continue.
So from that, from a player's perspective, I can imagine that their relationships amongst the team will have cohesed, it would have strengthened on and off the field.
Yeah.
We saw that last year.
Well,
we won the premiership.
Yeah, well, the outcome is performance.
Yeah.
And how much you can measure that, it's hard to know.
But you must have an intuition
see
about
that the team's happier. Things are not like when you turned up for that very first meeting.
Yeah, well, there's a level of my dad says this a lot, that happy people are more motivated, and I do believe that. You bounce into work and you've got a smile on your face. So there is a level of intrinsic motivation that seems to be just there consistently. So there is that they do look more connected within what they do. It ebbs and flows.
Yes,
in performance,
ebbs and flows as the person watching, who's very invested in their performance.
Yeah, but that's competitive sport, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But ultimately, this year in particular, and working with Trevor, I do feel like I shared this story last year that I don't have a son. I've got two beautiful daughters, or three beautiful daughters
and
now.
Can I mention that your daughter was born when Collingwood were playing in the premiership last year.
On the grand final day.
On the grand final day.
Wakes up in the morning, wife's ducked to hospital to have the baby.
And you
let
stayed
you sleep
with your
in.
Collingwood football team. Thank God we won, seeing you went with your wife. What a decision.
Yeah. No,
What a
I was there
decision.
for the birth.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, she was born.
Yes.
She was born at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay.
You missed most of the labour.
Yeah.
Got there for the delivery.
Yeah, my wife's incredible. She's remarkable, and she
Shout out to Gabby.
Yeah, shout to Gab. She's
Hi,
listening.
Gabby.
Yeah, unbelievable, Gab. Love you. But she's had the baby, and then we're there and joyful, and then go to the grand final win. Like what else are you doing?
And you
on
had to get
That's-
someone to drive to your house and pick up your shoes.
all these stories? Yeah,
You
I
know.
didn't know. I just remember at the end of the grand final them mentioning something about it, and I thought it had happened while. But then you called her Maggie. And by the way,
Yeah.
for people that are listening that don't know, so Collingwood is called the Pies because before you said
Magpies.
about the Pies, and so we call magpies. So yes, Maggie, beautiful.
Yeah, there's so many. We could do a whole podcast on just that naming and all those things, but it was an incredible experience. And my wife just said, "Oh, don't tell anyone."
Yes, tell us this bit.
Then we win the game, and there's 4 or 5 million people watching on TV.
But
maybe
before
more.
that, because you asked for permission to tell the players.
Oh
didn't you?
yeah, I told the players.
Yeah, so before there's a footage like that, but for people that don't know this, there's a camera watching the meeting, but they can't see any of the boards or the strategy, and they can't hear what you're saying. They can just see the tone of the meetings, and there's a camera on the other Brisbane Lions, their room, and they cross over, and you're telling them that you've just had, and you actually said, Gab and I have just had a baby boy.
I did. Actually, that leads into where I was going with the other story, because we had inside our shirts the legacy we wanted to
that's
leave,
right.
and players would have, I want to be, an entertainer or whatever they had. No, it was theirs. No one. But inside mine, I had 44 sons. And there's 44 players on the list, and I treated them like my sons, because back to the other, I don't have a son, beautiful daughter. So I was sharing this story and about 44 sons, and by the way, today we had a baby boy, and I'm going, I got him, it's a girl, Maggie.
But everyone cheered.
Yeah.
And then you had the cheered calm down. You went,
And
by the way, it's a
and
girl.
his name is
and then
Maggie.
they cheered again.
And
so
shirts thrown around in the room, and we were about to go out and perform, big
Yeah.
crowd.
Everyone's like, what? Because you said they can't hear.
the football
because,
world
yes.
is watching, and they're going, what on earth has he just said for that
know.
level of excitement?
Oh, and the place is going nuts, and they're banging and everything. And then, like my wife said, don't tell anyone. So I've told a lot of people there. And then we win, and then go up on the stage, and the coach gets to speak to the 100,000 in the
I
stadium.
was going to say MCG's full, 100,000 people live, and as you said, 4 million more
Multiple
than that.
million
watching on
watching.
TV.
And then I said, today's already the best day of my life, because my wife and I had a baby girl this morning, and the whole stadium erupts. Like, so there's this whole, and then my wife's
was
going,
screaming.
what has he done?
Don't tell
Don't
anyone.
tell anyone. And her phone just lit
Can you
up.
just keep it to ourselves?
Yeah.
How
yeah.
could you not, though?
Oh,
Such an exciting.
It was an incredible day. But that attachment to 44 sons is something that I hold dear to my heart, because I unconditionally love these young men, and I want to treat them like my own, and show love and support towards them. Yeah.
Brothers for you?
I got an older brother. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does that relate to the love of these sons? Is the having a brother as well, like the childhood of having, being loved by someone? Is there a connection to your childhood there? 'Cause
I
it's
think
really
on a
big
deeper
for you.
level, our family has been disconnected for a long time.
Yeah.
My dad split up, and brother moves to Perth, and my dad moves to Brisbane to support me when I was playing. Mum stays in Adelaide, sisters, and we're just all over the place. So, having a Christmas together just wasn't recognisable for many years. So it's sort of an attachment and looking for that connection and love unconditionally. But I think on a deeper level, I like to care. I like to care on a deeper level, and these young men, I want them to leave the Collingwood Football Club better men. Yeah,
I'm just listening to you, and I'm just thinking back to when I was growing up and what footy coaches were like back then, the Ron Barassis of the world. That's a stark difference in attitude.
Worlds away,
And
isn't it?
I'm just,
Even watching you on TV, when I'm at the game, I can't see you because, but I watch when on TV, you're just so contained.
Yeah, there's a lot going on underneath.
The duck with his feet swimming really fast.
No, but
underneath.
but that connection that you're talking about,
yeah.
you're wanting to create a family, they're your sons, there's an emotional aspect to it, which never existed before.
Yeah, I grew up in that era of, you're not performing well, and that means you're not a good person.
Yeah.
You should be better
in
than
front
that.
of the group, like shame you out.
The shame. It was real fear.
You've let us down.
I being coached through fear, and it wasn't that long ago that fear was a motivator. And I think we've changed. I think there's 5 languages of love, and one of them's affirmation. And I like to affirm that we care. And
great book, by the way, The 5 Love Languages.
And we ultimately within our environment, I'd like to think we're living those 5 languages daily. Yeah, we provide gifts when people are...
Yeah, what are the 5 languages for people that don't?
Gifts, in terms of... Yeah, I like gifts too.
It's how people... And the 5 languages is how people like to give or receive. So they tend to give the way they want to receive.
Yeah.
So if they like receiving gifts, they'll tend to give gifts. But someone else might be wanting affirmation. They're getting gifts and they're wondering, why didn't you like the gift? And it's like they just need to be... So...
Yeah, and there's time spent together, which we clearly spend a lot of time together, and there's acts of service or kindness. You do things for other. My wife loves when I make a cup of tea for her. And I was like, this is so easy. I just put the kettle on. And she loves
I love it when my husband makes me a coffee.
There you go.
Yes.
I do that too.
So there's all different layers to it, but ultimately, I want our young men to leave our club because the game will come and go, and the wins and losses will dry up. But I want them to be great fathers and great husbands and then and leave our footy club better people.
I've got a little 3-part bridge.
I feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it, eh? Like it's just, this is what I'm saying about having my beautiful friend here. That's like, you are so impactful, in such simple ways. It's such a profound, beautiful thing. So thank you forever and ever, right? But I want to build a little 3-part bridge. So first thing I want to say to you, I'll use Nick Dacos as an example. He's played his whole AFL football with you.
He's my son's favourite player.
He was highly touted, one of the most highly touted, draft picks of all time, son of a superstar.
Can I just say his dad, he was when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Magic.
Which is my era, and I knew Pete and all the Collingwood boys back then, and I've got a long history with Collingwood.
Yeah.
So
when he got the ball, you're like, it's going to be a goal. Sorry, just got my Bogan Collingwood roots coming out there for a moment.
The Macedonian marvel.
Swinging the scarf around.
Yeah.
Had my clapper.
Yeah.
So Peter Dacos and his son Josh comes along, who was toiling through, played solid footy, good footy, but Nick was younger and really touted. And watching Josh blossom when Nick arrives and the two of them are together.
And they play
talk
so
about
well
family
together.
connections
Yes. They
and
really
knowing where
do.
each other is.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to relate to you was Nick Dacos clearly was an amazing work in progress from his parents. Like really, you can really see the background of the way they've educated, taught, promoted what was good in life, Yeah. And I've heard stories of him going to the negotiating table, leaving some money out of his contract to attract other good players, and premiership's more important than my big golden check and all this sort of stuff. But you invited me back in.
Things. That's amazing to hear. I
powerful
didn't know that.
Young man. So touted by the football world as probably one of the there's probably 3 or 4 players that are argued as the best player in the game right now, and he's one of those, but younger than the others. Anyway, I'd been away from the culture for a while. I was previously there with you, and then I'd left and done different things and come back, experienced different footy clubs. I was at Melbourne with Simon Goodwin, etc. Had some great experiences. So I come back and you invite me back in. We've been working together, and you invite me to the Gold Coast game. And I go into the room.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now.
3 weeks ago, yeah.
Yes.
And we had a beautiful walk on the beach in the morning. It was a perfect day. You became a body surfing.
Trevor taught me to body surf. Now, there's not much of this body to surf, but it was an incredible experience. Yeah.
He was buzzing, so it was part of the pre-game thing. I was excited that I was in the pre-game because it was like what you'd learnt from new neural pathways and everything. But anyway, so you introduced me, and a lot of the players I known and worked with, and a lot more I didn't. They had been there since I'd been there. Beautiful, warm welcome. So I can only report back to you after 7 years away from the culture or whatever it was, that I come back in and I feel this incredibly warm welcome. But here's the number one player, and he went out of his way, Nick, to come over to me, looked me square in the eyes, shook my hand and said, thanks so much for coming down and supporting. Took time for me to reflect on it. Really means a lot. Really appreciate it, you know. And I just went, whoa. And then I could feel, because I'm a feeler, I could feel the world that this young man's carrying with him. He's carrying a whole amazing world, quite a wizard, And then looked me in the eye, and I said, thank you. I knew your father. Oh, yeah. And then just a quick interaction, and he walked off. But for me in that moment, that was one of the deepest reflections of what you've done and brought, because he's played all his football with you in his AFL football. And he could be so far ahead of himself, and clearly his family upbringing and his brother there has helped him. But the culture, the way he spoke to me, because I know a lot of superstars, I've met a lot of people, and most of them have just got an air of attention on themselves. And his whole attention was on me and thanking me for being there. Yeah. So I just wanted to reflect that back to you firstly, that there's proof in the pudding in one particular key moment that this is the way players are now. 3 seasons later, 2.5 seasons later, this is the way they're interacting with people.
Yeah, and it's a great affirmation again.
And you've got a few superstars, even though I absolutely love him. He's my son, sorry, but I'll say, you've said obviously, but I think there's quite a few superstars on the team.
Yeah. And with that, quite often there's ego and there's all the other attachments. But when you culture's not one person. Culture's a driver of many things, and I can drive the bus quite often. I know this is where we're going and reward the behaviour, but you need others to step up and drive the bus. I'm sitting in the back now. You take the reins. Take us to where you want to go with this, and quite often that's the case that makes it grow bigger than where it starts, because I'm only capable of this much, and then all of a sudden Nick comes along and he's got this incredible reach and another influence, and Scott Pendlebury, he's played nearly 400 games, and he's got a deeper reach and connects with other different parts of
Geordie DeGoey going through a transition in his life, and Darcy growing into a leader, and all these different.
And we can't. No one's saying Bobby Hill.
Yeah, Bobby Hill can. He's had an incredible journey himself. Overcoming cancer to play and all these different. There's so many stories attached to it. So I struggle to say, this is because of one person or
I think it's
many
it's
some
amazing
of many parts.
But it's the facilitation of it, right? It's the clearing the way for it to come forward. Okay, so we're going to be unashamedly ourselves.
Yeah, and we've done experiences where you stand at the front and tell your story. Here I am. Basically, standing there. Not literally, but naked and saying, accept me for who I am. This is my story.
Has there been some moments in that that have just changed things?
Significant. Many. I told my story first to role model.
To open the path,
give permission for others to be authentic and vulnerable. And then it's just flowed, and we're going back into it. We've done it for 2 years, and we've just got back into it again. And we heard this incredible story just only 2 weeks ago about a young lad's journey of his family from all sorts of hardship to travelling to Australia and all this refugee stuff. Amazing story, incredible story of. And then he just goes, I just keep reminding myself how grateful I am, how lucky I am, and so
what's the look in the eyes of the players and the staff
tears.
When someone's telling like that?
Tears, there's tears. Like I don't think there was a dry eye in the house, because it was all like, oh God, it's we're there with you, we're feeling your emotion, your story. Not that we can relate to it. It's
but
unrelatable.
You feel it.
Yeah, but we're here to support it.
So this is such an incredible, beautiful, big picture. And then yet in the siren goes, and maybe you've had a narrow loss or whatever, the commentary and the objectifying of what happened in the game and everything is such a stark contrast to what's actually going on. It's like two different worlds, isn't it? Like what's
media,
actually going on behind the people.
Sometimes they throw it on one person. If if this player didn't do this, or this one should have done that, why'd you do this? You think, oh God, I'm not even where you're at. And I just, as a fan, I just see that and go, that must be harsh. That must be hard to deal with.
There is a lot, and you've got to turn it off. I liken it to when you go camping and there's a mozzie in the tent. That's just a bit annoying.
I love your analogy.
Yeah, I just think that's what it is. It's just a bit annoying. And sometimes it becomes a mozzie bite, and do you scratch it or not? No, I'm just going to let that one go.
You're a master at giving simple analogies, because one that we worked through that you brought to me was, I just got a bit of sand in my shoe. Walking, but there's just a little grain that's just rubbing.
And sometimes it becomes a rock. I can't walk with this rock. I've got to take my shoe off. I've got this rock out. Sometimes you've got to vent and get it out.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of what we're in. Now, we're all talking love, connection, unconditional, 44 sons, all that emotion and trying to get intrinsic motivation and culture building, and family first. We haven't gone on that. Our kids come to the games and sing the song and travel.
Girlfriends and wives had never been in the rooms before. And they're
amazing stories of that. That's another podcast.
Mothers, fathers.
Mothers and fathers. So that's another layer. But then you got to win.
Well, that's it. I was going to ask you. I mean, what you're talking about is a lot of touchy-feely, empathy, and that's great. But that almost seems to me, God, you could go a bit too far because you've got to be aggressive on the field.
I was actually just thinking the connection, though, on the field would be at a whole other level.
So I liken it to, we have a boundary line which separates the off-field to the on-field.
Right.
And we train this. When you step over that line, you are on.
Yeah.
And we train at an incredible intensity and standards, and we talk about fighting for every inch, and we fight for every second, and we coach that. So that's the game plan stuff. The need that you got to have these things to be a winner. You know, I talked about winners at the first meeting. Well, to be a winner, you got to compete. You got to fight for a certain ground, and you got to have these things.
You got to turn over every stone to improve.
Yeah.
You've got to decide that no, I'm getting that ball today.
Yeah.
I just lost it, but I'll get it back again in a minute.
So I'm living in this winners only mentality, rewarding behaviour, and then this cultural piece of family first, love and support and care. So then they do marry, they cross over.
Yeah.
Because there's the type, what does winning look like inside the bounds and what does winning look like outside the bounds, right?
It was really easy to get this word winners or winners only to attach most things to. Winners do this right now. We had a game, we lost a final in my first year, and we had probably 6-7 players laying on the ground after the game. And I went to the press conference. I said to the players before the press conference, we'll never do that again, because there's losing and there's being losers, and there's winning and being losers. Like you can win a game and still be a loser. And I liken it quite often to tennis with Federer and Nadal, watching those guys go to battle for years, 5 sets at a Wimbledon final or an Australian Open, and you wouldn't know who lost.
Yeah,
you go, who lost that game? I wouldn't know. If you had no scoreboard, you'd have it because they just competed and they were just and they were so humble when they won, or they're so humble when they lost, and gracious and all these things, all these winners things that we can then repeat within our 4 walls or over that boundary line. It's just something that we've been continue to do.
Oh, lucky you haven't seen me play netball.
When it gets brutal.
Yeah, I finished last year. It was all over. Not all over, but just, my body wasn't keeping up with these young girls half my age. But yeah, I probably wasn't that humble sometimes.
Okay.
We didn't have a
White
good
line
coach like
fever.
you, though.
White line fever.
But there's
What did you do, Denise?
Well, I do remember when we were in the finals, and my husband actually said to me, came over and he goes, just, you got to calm down. He goes, remember the kids are here. And I was like, oh.
They're outside the court. That's fine.
you do get pretty, So
there are so many different ways of winning, though, isn't there? Like, this is not just the only way. This is just the way that we're doing it at the moment.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
have to
just not a
keep it
calm person.
Yeah,
but-
okay.
We've had the last 3 beautiful podcasts. One of the themes that came up was safety. So even at a cellular level, our cells can demonstrate that they feel safe or not safe, was one of the things that came out of a couple of podcasts ago. So, and with Lauren Burns, it was about that safety structure for people. So when you're talking, because we're sitting in front of an oval table, which is perfect for an AFL analogy, but when you're talking about inside the ground and outside, there's something about what you're really doing is letting them know when you step inside, no matter what happens, you're safe to step back outside. When you step outside, we've got you. It's unconditional out here. We're going to reflect back to you if you didn't perform or you didn't do it, because it's also safe. It's a safety to let you know. We're not going to blow smoke up your ass. And, so there's something about knowing you're safe, and therefore what that allows a person to go out and give. So if they know they've got a place to retreat to, they can then go and give absolutely everything, strip themselves bare. So to me, there's this crazy place where it connects, rather than, we've got too safe, or there's too much love, I'm not going to perform. It's like, no, when I feel most loved, I feel most bold. When I feel most supported, I feel most dynamic. I feel most like I'm going to take on the big challenge that I might be shied away from a little while ago.
And you've got your teammates that have your back as well.
And they're going, let's do it together.
I'm going to go all out.
There's something about a collective force in that we've seen play out. So for people that don't know, you guys broke all sorts of records over 2 seasons of comeback games, close wins, the most amount of games under 5 points or something, like most amount of wins under 5 points in one season. coming back from 30, 40, just 4 weeks ago, come back from
recently.
54 points down.
Oh my God!
You
My
know-
children are like, I was screaming. my daughter got
Can't
dropped.
imagine.
My daughter got dropped off by someone, and I said to the parents, "I can't talk to you right now." So we've been behind the entire game. It's the last 5 minutes. We're in front. They're just looking. They hadn't seen me like that. They see me as a certain person, and they're like, "Who is this person?" So they've had to follow in. I've just left them out the front because I'm watching the TV, and I'm screaming, and they're just like, "Oh." And I was like, yeah, this is Collingwood.
So at the end of that
live
game-
in Noosa. They've just, they've known me for years since Estelle was in, like childcare. They're now in grade 2. So, but they're just like, wow, you're crazy. I was like, that's Collingwood, right?
At
That
the
is
end of that game,
Collingwood.
you're sort of renowned for being fairly sort of, you don't give much away.
You hold it together.
You said it's all in there.
Be
What
honest.
was in there at the end of that game? Because that was a phenomenal game.
That was it was apparently the third biggest comeback in the last century.
That was amazing.
54 points down. And it's been sorry, Collingwood supporters out there, 100,000 plus members. You've had to live with a lot high blood pressure the last few years because we've won a lot of close games. You know,
Oh yeah, I think my face was red for hours.
Yeah,
there was a lot of blood pressure.
There was so
exciting.
much. There's so many things that go into a game. You invest yourself into the game, and then you've got this unbelievable comeback. Talking about this one in particular, 54 points, which has never been done only 3 times in 100 years, or whatever.
I didn't think it was possible. I mean, you know what?
In
As
the
a
third
Collingwood
quarter too,
supporter,
is it-
we actually always, you have this huge optimism. You're like, we might be able to do it. But then there's a little bit of
We're still in
reality that
this.
comes in and goes, oh, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, you should just turn it off.
Yeah,
but
well, that's been our reality. We get close enough, we keep coming. We fight to the last second.
The feeling's still there.
We practice that. You know,
From 54 points down.
Not quite.
even the
Third
Anzac Day
quarter.
match. So I was at the Anzac Day match and couldn't believe that one either. It
Yeah.
was just,
Yeah, and again, there's an untangible, unmeasurable to some degree of like we're never going to give up. We're going to, we lost the game on the weekend. We kicked the last goal. I keep striving. No, we're going to kick the last goal of the game, even if we're behind. We're going to still
But we
fight to
came
the last
back.
second.
We came
So
back. And I
that
think
was the message that you gave the players at 3/4 time.
For the North Melbourne game.
Yeah.
No, it was about let's take more risks. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, like come on, we want to be braver in this. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down our way, but just, go down swinging.
Be us.
Yeah, be us. We know how to do this. We've lived here before. It
But
was 30
Collingwood
points
does
and-
not give up. There is a bit of a thing where they do tend to sort of be behind and then they really come back.
Yeah, it's a
What is that?
it's a pattern.
That's not a game plan.
You're triggering something.
That's,
Well, that's the thing that we've chatted a bit about too, is that this is a superpower and something absolutely beautiful, incredible in life. If you could live with the trait of saying, I can always come back, you'd take that trait any day of the week. At the start of your life, you're going to be born with this trait. You'll always be able to come back from adversity. You'd say, yes, give me that one, because there's going to be a lot of adversity. Yet when you get it for long enough, you start thinking, can't we just be in front?
Yeah, I know.
And so you can start to not appreciate this magic. And that's a real balance, isn't it? Because
It keeps it exciting for us.
Yeah, the thrill of the
We're on
chase.
edge, you know.
But it's ultimately
It is.
not ideal, because you want to go to the level where it's like, oh, we're winning in advance and we're flying free the whole time. And
I know last year in particular, it was our story, and I just kept saying, this is just our story. This is the way we do things. We win the close ones, and we come from behind all the time. And this year, I have ebbed and flowed in my emotion for this. Like, am I getting tired of it? Like, we're 30 points down again. Come on, why are we doing this to ourselves? And then we make this record comeback, and I have wrestled with that a
it
lot.
feels so good when we come back.
I know, the thrill of the
Maybe
chase.
that-
We can't come back unless we're behind.
Yeah.
And then this,
You're not going to get this high. You're not going to get the adrenaline kick.
It is a bit addictive in terms of what the players want this, but there's a definitely a
The
level of
players
it.
surely wouldn't want to.
No.
That's
not
not something they would
consciously.
want.
It's not consciously.
There can be subconscious elements to
But
it.
can I ask, in all of this, how do you take care of your, you've got a baby, young kids at home.
Yeah.
This, I know you seem like you take it really well, just like a bit of a mozzie or this or that, but it's a lot. And how do you take care of yourself, still be a good dad, a good husband, and maintain your health?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm still a work in progress in many
We
of those
all are.
questions. I have a beautiful support network in my wife, and now Trevor is a great mentor and life coach, and more than that. No, it is a challenge, but what I've tried to create in my environment, our environment, is that when I'm home, I'm home. I don't do work at home. And so I got a role model that we get a day off, so I don't contact the coaches. So you have a day with your family. So no one contacts me after 6 o'clock unless it's an emergency. So then I'm present at home, and then accountability to who I want to be. I want to be. I ask my players to be great fathers and great husbands. Well, hey, come on, come on! You're going to say that out loud. My words are coming out of my mouth. Are my most important things to live. Don't say it unless you're going to live it. So I got a role model of that. And
so you could either be coding some tape or you could be walking your daughter down the
and sometimes doing both.
Right, yeah.
But you
have to make those choices. That model what you're living.
Yeah, and I don't always get it right. And then again, my wife's incredible support network, and then the accountability. Like Craig, you said you want to be a good dad. This is your time. Bath the kids. But
wives are good at that.
Yeah, but I do feel I feel that that's a work in progress, and there's a lot of layers to that I'm still unpacking.
And I think that's all of us, right? We have these conversations whenever, when we catch up, we always ask each other how we are. And, even with doesn't matter that I've studied all these things and I understand what's going on, doesn't mean that I can always live that life, because it is complex and get pulled in so many directions. Yep. But all of us, Dan, you have been in this area of, wellness your whole life as well,
pretty
naturopath
much,
and everything. And then obviously you now athlete to this, we all want to be at our best. We all want to be as healthy as you can. But in this day and age, I think with so much going on, even when you're not the coach of Collingwood, which is huge, it's such a busy, crazy world we live in.
Yeah. I actually don't even know what that means when you're not the coach in Collingwood. Because I don't think that's ever a case with this job.
Yeah.
You're always the coach of Collingwood. And in fact, my wife is always the coach of Collingwood's wife.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing in the 2.5 years you realise that Bunnings is a new experience, or my daughter's football on a Sundays. I'm umpiring, and it's a new experience.
Because everybody wants to talk to you afterwards.
You're never not the coach of Collingwood.
And I guess people, I walked in and saw you, and I went, hey, as if I'd known you forever, and you're probably thinking, who is this person? And that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Can imagine that so many other people just feel this, like they can beeline to you and say hi because they think they know you.
Yeah, and that's something that I just haven't been used to in my life. This last 2.5 years has been crazy.
But you seem to manage it well.
I go from being this little guy from Christie's Beach to now recognisable by
a very well-known premiership coach who's putting messages out that people are listening to big time.
Yeah.
You're having
people
huge
notice
impact.
you.
I still go, oh yeah, someone come to fix my garage this morning. Are you the coach of yeah? Oh yeah, nice to meet you, mate. Yeah, thanks. You're doing a great job. I don't take it for granted, and I realise this is a moment in time. It's not forever. And my life's been 50 years. This is how much of my life it's been.
It'll carry with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it will. And it's not something I'm not grateful for, but it's also not something that I'm taking for granted. Yeah. I realise again. I drive past and stare at the Collingwood Football Club and go, man, I'm the coach of Collingwood. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got a few questions that I'd love to ask to make sure we get through in the time we've got left. And first one is, in case we've missed any part of it, respectfully, can you tell us the difference between your experience of 3 years premiership play at Brisbane and the way the culture was and what the environment was and everything? What was good? And what have you changed and fixed? What are you doing differently? We've already kind of touched on it, but I think there's sort of a summary there for people to see the old world and the new world a little bit. Where are you taking it from to, and what's the ultimate outcome that you see in this?
Well, I think back to winning. Winning has a recipe. There is this. You got to bake the cake with the same ingredients. Everyone needs eggs and other layers to it to win. This has, it's talent and it's connection and it's systems and all that. That's all given. But then there's the other layers of how you want to go about it. And and back to the cultural stuff as well. I just feel like I'm just doing it my way. Who I am, being authentic and true to me. Love and support our players is my leadership style. But there is a changing of what our players had to put up with, or not put up with, the wrong language, what the environments were like. We had no social media when we played. Now our players cop it all the time if they get 19 possessions, not 20, because someone's lost their multi. It's crazy the world that we're in, and the judgment, the mozzie bites or the mozzies in the tent. There's lots of that. So there's a different layer of expectations and
just
criticism.
On that point though, because I actually hadn't thought of that. It's just how much impact does social media have on the players in particular? And do you coach them about how to actually manage that within themselves?
Yeah, we do some education, but then there's the world it is. It just gets
It's an
through.
unstoppable force.
It gets through. Like I don't have any accounts to get through, but it gets through because my wife will hear it, or my dad heard this. It gets through. So it's a difficult beast to escape from. The scrutiny is real, and then it affects at different layers in different ways. I feel like this is a world problem. This is not just an AFL thing.
At a football player at that level, that is not just under the scrutiny of the club and the supporters, but the whole world.
That's right.
Is they're under a microscope and they're being commented on with every move.
Love to be hated.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot as a young person as well that's trying to manage a professional football career, to manage that on top of that.
Yeah,
that's a lot of weight.
And we've had examples this year where it's actually really affected a couple of our players.
Yeah,
to a level of performance anxiety stuff. Because it's such a heavy weight to carry. But we got to love and support and try to give the players the tools to cope with this stuff. I don't think it's going to change. There's a level of acceptance of what it is, but then there's a level of getting the right tools to be able to manage that.
I think as a society, something has to change. I mean, I was talking about some statistics with someone the other day. They were saying suicide in 11-year-old girls before there wasn't stats for suicide, category. But now suicide rates in children has skyrocketed, but particularly young girls, and it aligns totally with social media.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a whole other thing that we don't necessarily need to talk about now, but just in general, it's an issue for everyone. And you could imagine being someone who's in the public eye and, everyone's looking at you. You just, difficult, such difficult times.
I think ideally, and then if you progress the game or sport or this social media juggernaut, in 5 years' time that we've had a seismic shift. We've had seismic shifts in a lot of things, and we accept and don't accept anymore.
Yep.
Maybe there comes a time where we do make some changes
to
the way that...
You have to have the pain to want the shift, right?
Yeah, and maybe we're not there yet, but we have had some unbelievable movement in so many different phases of the world that we accepted once, which we don't accept now, which is... You look back and that was only 10 years ago. How do we accept that?
Smoking at halftime?
Well, you go through all sorts of things, from the way we treat women in the workplace to all sorts of layers of, we used to smoke in nightclubs. I didn't smoke, but, all the layers of shift that has been seismic to now, I think this could be a really pivotal one.
Racial slurs and things that were acceptable at football at once upon a time, whereas now there's no way.
And again, we all look back and go, I was part of it. How do we accept all these little things that we now don't? Hopefully, in time, that we won't accept some of the stuff that we're accepting now.
You got a huge passion. I'm still sort of bridging these questions over. You got a huge passion for what you're doing at the Pies. It's come from somewhere. You won incredibly. You won in a big way at the Lions. You guys won 3 in a row. You're in 4 grand finals in a row. You were part of a star team. Some of the midfielders were stars that still get their names bandied around still now as some of the greats of all time. You're probably more a highly skilled, highly productive role player at the time at the footy. You don't see yourself as that, but
no, I do.
Okay.
I'm a role player.
But it seems that you've really encouraged role playing, probably because you had to learn the humility of role playing, because the team that you're coaching reflects that. The ones that the superstars you've given them free. Everyone's got free license, but you also encourage role playing. So there's that part I see as a reflection. But also you seem hell-bent on making sure people are happy and connected during their experience and they leave better. At the end of 2004, did you leave happy? Did you finish football like it gave you what you wanted?
No, that's definitely a driver.
Right, so that's part of the...
Yeah, there was a driver that I left the game tired, emotionally exhausted. The lemon was squeezed with an inch of his life, no more pips left in it. And then I went into coaching and I thought, I don't want these young men to have the experience that I had. I played for 10 years and we won a lot. Yeah. And we lost the grand finals in my last game, but I left. I didn't play again. I don't like exercise. I used to love exercise. I don't exercise at all now because I was burnt out in that old language, mind and body. So now I'm trying to go back in time and teach.
Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah, I want our players to leave happy. I want them to leave better. Now that's all within reason, but the game itself can eat you up and throw you out and use you up. And I'd like to think that we can help change that script.
And lots of AFL players we know have struggled, or even all athletes really. You know, it's not just necessarily football. You know, you're a star for a while, and then you know, then they sort of come crashing down. So
before my last question, has there been any other learning moments or things that have turned you inside out where you've gone, that's really influenced who I am now and what I really value? Because you know, I know life's had many challenges to it, and whatever you want to say about it. But has there been other things that you've said, God, that's turned me into the person I am now?
Many, and some a bit raw to share, but many have probably the most significant one is probably my wife coming into my life. Yeah, she's a special woman. Just taught me so much about unconditional love, support. Man, I'm a lucky man. She's a special woman. She's
given you permission, hasn't she, to be all that you are and to show your heart fully. And she's completed that.
Yeah, I'm not complete.
Yeah,
but I think also when you have that support, you can offer so much more to the world.
Yeah,
I feel quite lucky with my husband as well. Don't know if I don't think I'd be where I am today. I mean, I'm not necessarily doing what you're doing, but I don't even think I'd be where I am today if I didn't have that full-time support from my husband either. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, and just I never had anyone that's lifted me up or wanted to just go get the world. You know, I've always had great belief in my coaching ability, if coaching ability is a thing.
Yes, definitely.
And so I've always believed that I can coach and
you need to be people. A leader, you know, it's a skill.
But I've probably never had someone believe me enough to go and get them. You know, like I've been quite happy to be in the shadows and lived there. I could have lived there for, you know, I did it for 18 years as assistant coach and really wasn't in a hurry. And then all of a sudden my wife comes in the world and all these other opportunities start to present itself. Going, oh my God, what? They want to hear from me. And now I'm presenting in so many different forums and I don't realise how loud my voice is. My voice has never been louder, but I'm speaking probably softer. You know, like I just can't believe the reach of what this job's entailed, but also the belief my wife has installed in me to go, you know, be a louder voice.
So beautiful, mate. And I know that many organisations, AFL and others, are saying, show us the way, mate. You're doing it. You're doing what we've always wanted to do. Show us the way, which is really beautiful. My question for you, which I've asked and I've sort of, you know, set you up. I've told you about this question. You know, we're all about longevity and we're looking at this, a lot of science and things that can nutritionally based and understanding of how everything works, that we're pretty sure we can get you 10, 20, even 30 extra years.
I was just about to say, if you come off the back of our few podcasts ago with Ryan, you know, we usually say 10 years of extra health, which I think we can definitely get through diet, nutrition, exercise, even though you're not exercising as much right now. But according to, you know, it could be 30 years if you're, but we'll talk about that later.
We're at the doorway of this incredible revolution in what's possible for cellular health and everything. So if you were able to, through all this wisdom that's coming into the world, if you're able to get an extra 10 powerful, highly cognitive, strong years at the end of your life, in your 80s, 90s, whatever, why would you want that? What would be important for you personally about that? What would you do with it?
Look, I think for most of us, we spend our childhood trying to grow up fast, and then we get older and we try to stay young for as long as we can. And I've got a young family that a 9-month-old when I'm 50, which you know, it's you do the maths at certain ages or at stages of her life. There's going to be a lot of age for me and not much for her, and and I just love the thought of being able to live a full life with my kids.
And even your grandchildren. I mean, I had my last at nearly 40, and I did start to think, will I be around for my grandkids? I don't want to think that, but you do.
And again, I've got a story to tell of why I'm in this situation having kids at 50, but I just love kids, and I just haven't been lucky enough to be in a position where, again, back to my wife, that we've got an environment we can just have a great family, and so then so to have more time with my family. Again, the moment of time at the moment is this coach and everything that goes within it. but I still like to think there's a lot of time left to spend with family and go fishing and do all the things I love and maybe do a bit more body surfing.
Take that skill to another level.
Yeah.
At 70 because you're still feeling good and you're still fit, because you can be 70 and living a great life, or you can be 70 and you can be 80. I mean, there's men out there playing tennis at competitions at 93. I watched a documentary the other day. It was amazing. Yeah.
Just wanted to say to you, mate, my father, he loved gold mining, fossicking, and opal fossicking, and he would find lots of opals, but he was always looking for that one that just shone in so many different ways. And I feel emotional when I say this to you, but I feel like I've found that in a mate, in a human. You're an opal that shines in many different ways, that you're many-faceted, that is, if someone pulled you out of the ground, they'd go, oh my God, how beautiful is this?
Wow.
You know, and I don't know why that analogy came to me, but my father was always in the search for that. And I think I've always searched for great people to be around, but I love and appreciate you. And it's such an honour to be in your world.
Oh, thanks,
and
mate.
I appreciate the way you shine.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, and he's Trevor's been incredible at making me be more real of what's important. He just keeps coming back to what's the inner purpose, what's your true self, and through a lot of adversity and change and pressures, you can get lost in some of that stuff, and he's made it really clear for me. My grandfather, who's no longer with us, was the most incredible pearl or opal that you've probably ever seen, and I think I'm becoming more like him every day, so which makes me really proud.
Brilliant.
Beautiful,
Brilliant.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time.
Again.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect this. That was just so special. God. But you're an amazing human, and very grateful as a Collingwood fan that you're the coach, but also just as a person, sharing all this with you. It's really lovely.
Oh, thank you. Very
Fantastic. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, mate.
Trying to be the professional, but I can't. I think I was going to cry about 4 times during that. At least I held it in till the end.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I could
wipe
feel
your
you.
tears.
Yeah, wipe your tears at the Collingwood.
I don't want Dad's scarf.
And we'll do number 2 down the track, mate. Somewhere, and we'll tell the rest of the story of what
It's so
what
humble
unfolds.
and so real, and just an honour. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.